All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first section of our review. This is going to be on the test, so watch this over and over, whatever it takes, and also take notes, filling in your example paper for this. So, the setting for World War One: nationalism. Everybody thinks their country is the best, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but nationalism takes it another step where it's no longer healthy. They think they're better than everybody else. Not just that, hey, we have a great country, we're the best country in the world, but more like nobody else is as good as we are. And there's a difference there. There's also imperialism, which is wanting to take over the world, wanting to either just have influence over other countries or else to actually take over them. So imperialism, nationalism, not real good things. And then there's an arms race. So point to your arms, flex your muscles, those are your guns, right? So this is a guns race. Guns are arms, arms are guns. This is a race to have bigger and better weapons. So two people go into fight. We've talked about this a lot. One of them brings their fists, the other brings a stick. The person with their fist says, crud, I need something else. They go and they get a rock. The other person goes and they get a gun. The other person goes and gets a gun and a friend. So this starts the arms race or militarism, trying to get a bigger, stronger military. So if a war breaks out, they've got the best weapons. The part that isn't an arms race or militarism is a part where I said, and then they got a friend. That would be alliances. So one person went and got a friend, the other person got a different friend until eventually they said, hey, if I get in a fight, you've got my back, right? And so eventually all these alliances are formed when the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary passes through Bulgaria. Serbia doesn't really like Austria-Hungary at all. There's some bad blood there, and Bosnia is kind of somewhat a new territory, and Serbia uses it as an opportunity. They hire on the Black Hand, which is like a terrorist organization, to try to assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand. We watched the video on it. They hired like 5 different people from the Black Hand, and 4 of them did not succeed, and the last one got lucky because they backed up to try to go check on a friend who was injured when a grenade exploded and injured somebody else instead of the Archduke. And when they backed into the alley, then Archduke got assassinated. So when these two got into it, then they had other people backing them up. Austria-Hungary, Italy, and Germany then are the Triple Alliance. And they'd agreed on this, and so they're kind of stuck. Since Austria-Hungary's in war, they have to go to war. Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire, they're also a part of this group, but they're not part of the Triple Alliance. Triple Alliance is kind of the people who are a big deal. And then it's like, oh, by the way, Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire, there too. They're all part of the Central Powers, but the Triple Alliance, those are kind of the beefy guys. On the other side, Serbia has their backers, France and Russia. There's a lot of trade going on here, a lot of family going on here, and then Great Britain. Great Britain has an arrow coming over here to the Lusitania sinking. So Germany does too, because Germany and their U-boat sank the Lusitania, which was a passenger ship. Germany said, hey, don't come in these waters because we're going to blow you up. Germany had, or Great Britain had kind of been a little sneaky with what was all considered passenger ships, and Germany had kind of said, we've had enough and we kind of want an excuse to blow you guys up. So they did blow them up. Problem was, there were also, in addition to 1,200 people total, 128 of those people were Americans. So the United States is kind of ticked off, and then Germany's realizing, yeah, the United States maybe isn't going to stay an isolationist in an isolation booth by themselves. They might actually get involved here, and if they do, we want to make sure we're not in trouble too much. So they contacted Mexico via telegram, which happens to go, I believe it was through France, which France is over here. Hello. So you sent a message through the opposing people to send a secret message to somebody else. France decodes it as you decode the Zimmerman telegram and say, hey, United States, Germany just invited Mexico to go to war with them against you. And Mexico's response was Germany had proposed that they would give them money to fight the United States, and they would help them get back the territories of New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, the territories they lost in the previous war with the United States. Mexico's response then was, meh, we don't want all those states back that have all American speaking, English speaking people in there. We don't really want it back. And even if we did want to go to war with you, we would have to buy our supplies from America. And so they're probably not going to be like, yes, Mexico, have some guns to come fight us. So they said no, and the United States said, you know what, we are going to go to war. The U.S. joins the war, which is ironic. Our president was Woodrow Wilson, who ran on the slogan for his second term, he kept us out of war. And shortly after he was elected to that second term, he went to war. Another big name for the United States was John J. Pershing. I believe we have the Pershing Auditorium Center in Lincoln, maybe you've heard of. He is the leader of the Expeditionaries, which is the name of the United States team that goes to war. The reason that they're named the Expeditionaries is the United States didn't want to join these forces. They wanted to fight alongside of them, but John J. Pershing said, we're not going to send some troops with the French and some with Russian and some with Great Britain. Instead, we're going to fight as the United States, and we will send in a whole slew of people together and fight. We're not just going to farm out a few of our people here, a few of our people there. We're fighting our own. One thing that I said, though, just now, there's an arrow pointing from Russia to the United States, so we really didn't have the opportunity to fight with Russia, because Russia had some big challenges going on back there we haven't talked about yet, but they pulled out of the war. And right as they pulled out, the United States tried to hurry in, because guess what? If you evacuate these thousands of soldiers, there's going to be a collapse, and the Allied powers would have been hosed, and so the United States came in and kind of helped stabilize things. So Allied powers is all of these. Triple Entente was France, Russia, Great Britain. A few new things in the war. U-boats, what we'd call now submarines. They started out just with Germany. And Zeppelins. Now, we did talk about U-boats a tiny bit during the Civil War. In fact, there was one, the USS Huntley, I believe, was the one that they failed over and over and over, and we had a devotion about that. But this is the first time that they're used widely and successfully in a war. U-boats are new in World War I. Zeppelins, which is the same as like a hot air balloon with bombs. They'd be stealthy or quiet. They'd be easy to shoot down if you could shoot high enough. Tanks are new. Biplanes are new. Biplanes are just airplanes, but like a bicycle that has two tires, biplanes have two wings. New weapons, poisonous gas. Talked a lot about that. Machine guns and artillery. Artillery, think of like fireworks. There are artillery shells where you drop the bomb essentially in it, and then it shoots off like a cannon. These are basically big cannons. So all of this is World War I, and it's known as the Great War, and a little bit narcissistically, a little bit thinking like this is such a big deal, they named this the War to End All Wars. Sadly, it wasn't. There's still war today, obviously. But this is World War I in a nutshell. These are the things that you're going to need to fill in the blanks. Make sure to study this for the test.